Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel Data Analysis with Dr. Veronica. In this tutorial, we will go through the WRAPROWS and the WRAPCOLS function in Microsoft Excel. We will see the meaning of WRAPROWS, which is basically to wrap rows, and WRAPCOLS is basically wrap columns. We will see how the functions work with examples, and then we will nest the WRAPROWS and WRAPCOLS functions with the sort function. The link to this practice file is in the description box. Do well to download the file and practice as you watch this video. The best way to learn Microsoft Excel is actually doing as you are learning. WRAPCOLS and WRAPROWS is only available for Excel 365 for Windows and Mac and Excel for the web. So if you do not have this version of Microsoft Excel, you may not have this function in your Excel setup. WRAPROWS and WRAPCOLS is basically a type of dynamic array functions that is used to manipulate and reshape arrays. It helps you to convert a one-dimensional array into a two-dimensional array. So what I mean by this is this array that we have here is a one-dimensional column array. So we will use WRAPROWS and WRAPCOLS to convert this one-dimensional array to a two-dimensional array. The same with this data that I have. This is a one-dimensional row array. For WRAPROWS and WRAPCOLS, the arguments in the syntax are both the same. So we will see what the arguments mean. When you press the equal to sign on your keyboard and you type WRAPROWS and you open the bracket, you will see the first argument is the vector argument, which means the array of data that you are about to wrap. And this argument is mandatory. The next argument is the wrap count argument, which is another mandatory argument that you use to determine how many cells you need information to be filled in before you move to the next column or you move to the next row, as the case may be. It depends on which of the formulas or which of the functions that you are using. The next argument, which is paired with, is an optional argument. But this argument is very useful when you want to avoid the NA error, and we will see that as we go along in the examples. If this is the first time of stopping by my YouTube channel, please do well to subscribe and hit the like button so that when people search for similar contents on WRAPROWS and WRAPCOLS, my video will pop up through the YouTube algorithm. Also, share this video with your friends and colleagues and drop a comment in the comment section what you think about this video. Let us get started. The WRAPROWS function works first from left to right and from top to bottom. From left to right and from top to bottom. This is why I put these arrows to indicate this movement. It moves first from left to right and then from top to bottom. So you type the equal to sign and type in WRAPROWS. Open the bracket. The vector is the array of data to be wrapped. You select that, you put the comma separator. The next argument is the wrap count. How many cells in the same row do you want information to be entered into before moving to the next row? This is what the wrap count argument in the WRAPROWS function means. How many cells on that same row you need information to be imputed before you move to the next row, the row below it. So this is why it first moves from left to right and then from top to bottom. So in this case, I want information to be reflected in 4 cells on the same row that I am working on. And because the third argument is optional, I can ignore this. And I just close the bracket and hit the enter button on my board. So this is what we have seen. A, B, C, D. After the first 4 cells are complete, of course, from the including the beginning cell, it moves to the next row, E, F, G, H. And then it moves to the next row, I, J, K. And that is it. The last cell here has nothing to show. This is why we have the NA error. And this is where the third argument comes in. And when we do the WRAPCOLS example, we will see how to put the paired with argument. So the next example is WRAPCOLS, and I'm going to put the equal to sign like the first one. I type WRAPCOLS, open the bracket. The vector is the array. I choose the entire array that I want to wrap. I put the comma separator, the wrap count. Now for the WRAPCOLS, it moves from top to bottom and then from left to right. It first moves from top to bottom, from left to right. What this means is the wrap count is basically requesting you to input how many cells in that column you need information to be imputed in before you move to the next column by the right. In this example, I need information to be entered in 3 cells in the same column, of course with the beginning cell, and then before it goes to the right. I will choose 3 here, and for the next argument, which is pad width, we will see how to work around this one later on. So I close the bracket, hit the enter button on my keyboard, and this is the result that I have. So let us see how to work with the pad width argument, which is the optional argument. When your array cannot fit into the 2D that you have provided, you have this NA error. The way to eliminate this is to pad width. So I have added a comma separator after the second argument, which is wrap count. It has taken me to the next argument, which is pad width. For this argument, I can choose to include any value. So I will basically tell Excel for every cell which is supposed to have the NA error, put this particular value in that cell instead of providing me with the NA error. So in this case, I would put an empty cell because I don't want any information there. So I put double quotation marks. I hit the enter button on my. We can see that this particular last cell is empty because I have told Excel to pad with an empty cell instead of giving me the NA error. This is how the WRAPROWS and the WRAPCOLS functions. So with the row array that I have here, we would go through the same process. The first one is WRAPROWS. I open the bracket. I choose the vector, which is the array that I have here. I put the comma separator. The next question, the next requirement is the wrap count. How many cells in that row do I need information to be imputed before it goes to the next row? In this case, I need 4. And I would close this bracket, and this is the result that I have. January, February, March, April. And then it moves to the next row underneath. May, June, July, August, and then it moves to the next row underneath and continues up till the end. I will go to WRAPCOLS and let us take another example. WRAPCOLS, you open the brackets, you select the array, the one-dimensional array, you put the comma separator, and the wrap count in this case is going to be 4. Because I want to input information in 4 cells in the same column before moving to the next. So I choose 4. And for the sake of being extra cautious, I am going to put an empty. So I will tell Excel, pad with emptiness when instead of giving me the NA error. I close the bracket. I hit the enter button on my keyboard, and this is what I have. The next example we are going to look at is the source data that we have here, which shows us the names of flowers. So we want to wrap these names of flowers to come out in a 2D array instead of the 1D array that we have here. The next question is, how do we want the data to be reflected? I do not mind to have just 3 columns and others will fall below it. So in this case, I am moving first to the right and then I am going down. And the next question is, which of these functions is more appropriate? So I think the function that is more appropriate for this is the WRAPROWS, because I am going to the right first before going down. And I want to impute the information in 3 different cells on the same row. So the first one, I choose the vector, the 1D array to be wrapped. I put the comma separator. The count is 3 cells in the same row. And I will just pad with emptiness, 0. Or you can pad with 0, you can pad with X, you can pad with anything at all. So if you want to pad with a text, you have to put it in double quotations. I close the bracket and I hit the enter button on my keyboard, and this is what I have. So of course my X is not showing up here because the data itself fits into my 2D array, very convenient. The third example that we have right here, the same, we have a source data, which is the name of the flower, the amount that the flower was sold, the price, and the date the flower was sold. So let us assume that this flower data is coming from a flower shop, and the data is arranged in this format. It depends on where you download your data source from, but sometimes we can see data arranged in this format, and we want to rearrange the data in the proper format that it should be. So what we can do is this. Open the brackets, use wrap rows, and the reason we're using wrap rows because we want the information to be filled in the first 3 cells on the same row before moving down to the next row. So I will choose my entire array like this, put the comma separator. The wrap count is 3. I put the comma separator and I just put X just in case, just to pad, in case there is a cell that is going to give me an NA error. And I hit the enter button on my keyboard, and this is the information that I have. So nicely done. In the case of the date is showing up like this instead of the proper format, just because of the format of these cells. And to change this to the proper way that the date is supposed to be selected, select the entire date and you go right here, choose short date, just to change the format of the cells. And we have the information showing up the way it should. Of course, we can go ahead and put borders and do any kind of formatting that we desire to do. We go back to example number 2 and see how to nest the sort function with the WRAPROWS function or the WRAPCOLS function. Depends on what you're using. In this case, we have the names of these flowers and we want to sort so that we will have the names arranged in alphabetical order. So what do? We have our WRAPROWS function already written out, but we need to sort the array of data first before we apply WRAPROWS to it. So I'm going to type sort. This is the array of data right here that I want to sort, and I'm just going to close this bracket. But right inside here, I'm going to choose this. The sort order is in ascending order, and my sort function is well arranged. So I am basically wrapping what has been sorted. I hit the enter button on my keyboard. This is the information that I have. All the A's are taken first before we come to B, C, D, I, J, just the way it is supposed to be. Let me know what you think about this video in the comment section. We have gone through the WRAPROWS and the WRAPCOLS function, and we see how the function work with example. We have also seen how to nest WRAPROWS and WRAPCOLS function with the sort function. And just an interesting point to add, if you want to reverse what you have wrapped to from 2-dimensional array back to 1-dimensional array, you need to know how to use the toCol and the toRow functions. And I have a video with comprehensive examples on how to use the toRow and the toCol functions. And the link to that video is in the description box. So please do well to go to the description box, watch the video of how to change an array from 2-dimensional array to 1-dimensional array using the toCol and the toRow function. And let me know what you think about that video as well. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, give me a thumbs up, and see you in the next video.